Namo Amitabha Buddha. Dear friends, thank you for being here tonight. Have you ever noticed this? The house is quiet. The lights are low. Your body is tired, and yet your mind refuses to rest. You tell yourself, let it go, but the thoughts keep coming. A conversation from earlier, a worry about money, a loved one you can't stop thinking about, something you wish you could fix or control. Many people in America know this feeling well. Long days, heavy responsibilities, sleepless nights where the mind keeps holding on. Tonight, I want to gently share something the Buddha taught long ago. Not about forcing yourself to let go, but about why the mind clings and how peace returns naturally when we understand it. Let us begin this journey together, slowly, kindly, and without pressure. The tighter we hold, the more it hurts the true source of suffering. As we sit here together, gently beginning this journey, something quiet may already be revealing itself. Not a solution yet, just a soft noticing. The noticing that what keeps us awake at night is not always what happened, but what we are still holding. You may recognize this moment. Your phone is face down on the table. A cup of tea has gone cold beside you. Outside, the street is finally quiet. And yet inside, the mind is busy replaying a sentence someone said that stayed with you. A decision you wish had gone differently. A person you love but cannot understand. A situation you keep turning over, hoping it will finally make sense. The body wants rest, but the heart feels tight, like a hand that refuses to open. In Buddhism, the Buddha did not begin by blaming the world for our pain. He looked inward with great compassion and spoke a simple truth. Suffering does not come from life changing. Suffering comes from the mind trying to stop that change. Imagine holding a rope that is slowly being pulled away. At first, you grip tighter, thinking strength will save you. But the rope burns your palms. The tighter you hold, the deeper the wound. Many of us live like this every day. We hold on to people who have already changed. We hold on to roles we once played in our families. We hold on to expectations we made years ago when life looked different. We hold on to the idea that if we just try harder, explain more clearly, sacrifice a little more, things will go back to the way they were. And when they don't, the pain feels personal. I once spoke with a woman named Linda, a quiet, kind grandmother living in California. She told me she could not sleep because of her son. Every night, she lay in bed listening to the hum of the refrigerator, her hands folded on her chest. whispering prayers that he would change. "I don't understand," she said softly. "I've done everything a mother should do." Her voice was steady, but her eyes were tired. Not the tiredness of age, the tiredness of holding something too tightly for too long. This is where the Buddha's teaching becomes very gentle and very honest. He taught that at the root of suffering is attachment, not because attachment is wrong or sinful, but because everything we attach to is impermanent. People change, bodies age, feelings shift, circumstances move in directions we did not plan. The mind, however, resists this truth. It clings to how things were. It clings to how things should be. And in between those two, suffering quietly grows. In Buddhist teaching, this clinging is called tanha, often translated as craving or grasping. It is the subtle voice inside that says, "I need this to be different for me to be okay." When we crave, we tighten. When we tighten, we suffer. Notice how this feels in the body. The shoulders rise, the jaw clenches, the breath becomes shallow. This is not peace, this is resistance. The Buddha did not tell us to stop caring. He did not tell us to walk away from love or responsibility. He taught us to see clearly the difference between caring and clinging. Caring is open-handed. Clinging is closed-fisted. Caring says, "I wish you well." Clinging says, "You must be this way for me to feel safe." And the painful truth is this: no one can stay exactly as we need them to. When we cling to people, we place a heavy burden on them. When we cling to outcomes, we place a heavy burden on ourselves. This is why the more we try to control life, the more exhausted we become. Think of how much energy is spent replaying conversations, imagining different endings, wondering why someone did not act the way we hoped. This energy does not heal the past. It only tightens the present. In Buddhism, this tension is called dukkha, a word often translated as suffering, but it also means something subtler, a deep, unsatisfied unease. Dukkha is the feeling of always bracing, always holding, always waiting for life to finally settle down. But life was never meant to be held still. The Buddha compared our experience to trying to grasp water with our hands. The harder we squeeze, the faster it escapes. Peace does not come from a tighter grip. Peace comes from understanding when to open the hand. This understanding does not arrive all at once. It begins with a small moment of honesty. The moment you admit to yourself, "This hurts because I am holding on," not with blame, not with shame, but with kindness. Like Linda, who one evening lit a small candle on her kitchen table. The flame flickered gently reflecting in the window. She sat quietly, hands resting on her knees, and for the first time, she did not pray for her son to change. She simply breathed. In that moment, something softened. Not her love, but her grip. And in that softening, there was relief. This is the doorway the Buddha points us toward. Not a dramatic awakening, not a sudden release of all pain, just the beginning of seeing clearly. Seeing that suffering is not proof of failure. It is proof of attachment. And when attachment is seen, compassion can enter. As we continue, we will gently explore how the mind holds on, how this holding creates inner storms, and how the Buddha offered a path not to escape life, but to live it with a lighter heart. For now, simply rest with this truth. The pain is not because you care too much. The pain is because you are carrying what was never meant to be carried forever. And learning to set it down is the beginning of peace. Learning to set something down begins with seeing how tightly it is held. Often the holding is so familiar that we don't even notice it. Like the hum of a refrigerator at night, always there, always running in the background, until the house becomes quiet enough for us to hear it clearly. This is how the mind works. You lie in bed, eyes closed, and a thought rises. Just one. Did I say the wrong thing? What if this doesn't work out? Why haven't they called back? The thought feels small at first, almost harmless. But the body responds immediately. The chest tightens, the breath shortens, sleep drifts farther away. In Buddhism, the Buddha named this process with great clarity and kindness. He spoke of a chain that binds the heart not to punish us, but to help us understand ourselves. The chain has 3 links: craving, clinging, and becoming. Craving is the beginning. Craving is not greed in the loud sense. It is quiet. It whispers. It says, I need this person to understand me. I need things to go back to how they were. I need this outcome so I can finally relax. Craving often dresses itself as love, responsibility, or concern. A mother worrying about her child late into the night. A partner waiting for a message that doesn't come. A man staring at the ceiling, replaying a conversation with his boss. Craving says, if this changes, I will be okay. And because it feels reasonable, we rarely question it. But craving never stays alone for long. It tightens into clinging. Clinging is craving with tension. This is when the mind starts working overtime, replaying the same story again and again, drafting imaginary conversations, explaining, defending, correcting inside our own heads. You may recognize this moment. The room is dark. A digital clock glows softly on the nightstand. Minutes pass, then hours. The body is still, but the mind is running. Clinging feels like effort, like responsibility, like love that refuses to rest. But clinging has a cost. The Buddha taught that when we cling, we are no longer responding to life as it is. We are fighting life as it is. And this fight never ends quietly. Clinging hardens into the third link, becoming. Becoming is when the situation no longer feels like something happening to you. It feels like something happening as you. You are no longer someone experiencing difficulty. You become the one who was abandoned, the one who failed, the one who must fix everything. The identity forms quietly but powerfully. And once identity forms, suffering deepens. Because now it is not just a problem you want to solve. It is you that feels at risk. This is why sleep becomes so difficult. The body can rest, but the self, the story of who you think you must be, refuses to lie down. I remember a man named Michael, a middle-aged father living in New Jersey. He shared that every night he checked his phone one last time before bed, not for messages, for silence. If I don't hear from her, he said, my mind starts filling in the gaps. His shoulders were slightly hunched as he spoke, hands clasped together as if holding something invisible. Craving said, I need reassurance. Clinging said, I will keep checking. Becoming said, if she pulls away, it means I am not enough. This is how the chain tightens. The Buddha never asked us to break this chain by force. He knew force would only create another form of clinging. Instead, he taught us to see it, to see craving arise like a wave, to feel clinging tighten like a knot, to notice becoming form like a mask placed gently but firmly over the face. When seen clearly, the chain loosens on its own. This is not theory. It is lived experience. You can feel it right now. Think of something that has been heavy on your heart lately. Notice where the wanting lives in the body, the chest, the throat, the stomach. Notice how the mind keeps returning to the same place as if circling a fire for warmth. This is not weakness. This is human. In Buddhist communities across America, people gather every week carrying this same weight. At small temples tucked behind grocery stores, in meditation halls near busy highways, in living rooms where a single candle flickers beneath a simple image of the Buddha. Different lives, same chain. The Buddha's teaching does not ask us to stop loving, caring, or hoping. It asks us to stop confusing peace with control. Craving says peace is somewhere else. Clinging says peace will come if we hold on tighter. Becoming says peace depends on who we manage to be. But the Buddha pointed gently in another direction. Peace comes when craving is understood, when clinging is softened, and when identity is no longer built on what cannot be held. This understanding does not arrive with fireworks. It arrives quietly, like a lotus opening just enough to let light touch the water. The moment you see the chain, you are no longer fully bound by it. The moment you recognize this is craving, it loses some of its authority. The moment you admit this is clinging, the grip eases. The moment you realize, I am not this story, the heart has space to breathe. This is why the Buddha emphasized awareness over struggle. Awareness does not argue with the mind. It listens. And when the mind feels heard, it begins to rest. As we continue, we will explore how awareness becomes practice and how practice becomes freedom, not by removing life's challenges, but by changing our relationship with them. For now, hold this gently. You are not broken because you cling. You are human. And the chain that keeps you awake can also become the path that leads you home. If the chain that binds the heart can also become the path home, then the next question is a tender one. How do we loosen it without breaking ourselves? Many people hear the words, "let go," and feel a quiet resistance rise inside. It sounds like surrender, like failure, like walking away from love duty or responsibility. But the Buddha never taught letting go as abandonment. He taught it as wisdom in action. You can feel the difference in the body. Giving up feels heavy. The shoulders slump. The breath collapses inward. There is bitterness there, and grief without warmth. Wisdom feels different. The spine straightens just a little. The breath deepens. The face softens even in sadness. Letting go, as the Buddha taught it, is not the closing of the heart. It is the release of what no longer needs to be carried. Imagine holding a fragile bowl filled with water. If you grip it too tightly, it cracks. If you throw it away, it shatters. But if you hold it with care, steady, attentive, without strain, it can be carried far. This is the middle way. In Buddhism, wisdom is not abstract thinking. It is seeing clearly how suffering is created and choosing not to add more. This is where the teaching of karma becomes deeply practical. Karma is not fate. It is not punishment. It is not something waiting to strike us from the past. Karma is what we are creating right now through our thoughts, our words, and our actions. Every time the mind tightens in fear, every time the tongue lashes out in anger, every time we abandon ourselves to please another, a seed is planted. Some seeds grow into peace. Some grow into more pain. Letting go is the moment we stop planting harmful seeds, not by force, but by awareness. You may notice this in small, ordinary moments. A message arrives late at night. Your heart jumps. The mind races ahead, imagining tone meaning consequence. The old habit would be to react immediately, to explain, to defend, to fix. But wisdom pauses. Wisdom says, "Let me see this clearly." In that pause, karma shifts. No harsh word is spoken. No accusation is sent. No sleepless spiral begins. This is not weakness. This is strength refined. The Buddha taught that true power is not the ability to control others or outcomes. It is the ability to not be controlled by the storm inside. I remember watching an elderly man at a small temple in Oregon. His movements were slow, deliberate. He rang a bell before evening chanting, and the sound lingered low, round steady, long after his hand had stilled. Nothing about him seemed rushed. Later, someone asked him how he learned to be so calm. He smiled, lines gathering gently at the corners of his eyes, and said, "I stopped arguing with what already happened." That is letting go, not forgetting, not denying, not pretending things don't matter, but no longer fighting reality. When we fight reality, the mind creates suffering on top of pain. Pain may be unavoidable. Suffering is optional. This is a subtle but powerful distinction in Buddhist teaching. Pain is the loss, the illness, the disappointment. Suffering is the story we wrap around it. This shouldn't have happened. They should have known better. I can't accept this. These thoughts feel protective, but they keep the wound open. Letting go does not erase pain. It stops reopening it. This is why letting go is wisdom. It chooses healing over being right, peace over control, clarity over chaos. In American Buddhist communities, this teaching often shows up quietly. In grief circles where people sit without fixing each other. In meditation halls where no one asks for explanations. In homes where a small altar holds a candle, a flower, a photo of a loved one. Nothing grand, just presence. The practice is simple, but not easy. It begins by noticing when the mind reaches for what it cannot hold. A relationship that has changed. An outcome that refuses to arrive. A version of yourself that no longer fits. Letting go says, "I release my grip, not my care." This is especially important for those who give a lot. Parents, caregivers, those who were taught that love means sacrifice without limit. The Buddha never asked us to harm ourselves in the name of love. He taught compassion that includes the self. To let go is to say, I will not create more suffering for myself or others. Sometimes this looks like silence instead of argument. Sometimes it looks like distance instead of chasing. Sometimes it looks like rest instead of relentless effort. These choices may feel unfamiliar at first. The mind may protest. Guilt may whisper. Fear may knock. But if you stay gentle and steady, something changes. The breath finds its rhythm again. The chest feels less tight. The heart learns that it can survive without gripping. This is how wisdom trains the heart, not through harsh discipline, but through repeated kindness toward truth. The Buddha compared this process to learning to tune a stringed instrument. Too tight, and it snaps. Too loose, and it won't play. Letting go finds the right tension, the place where life can be lived fully without breaking. As we move forward, we will explore how this wisdom becomes a daily practice, how letting go turns into peace, not just in quiet moments, but in the middle of real life. For now, remember this: you are not failing when you let go. You are choosing not to suffer unnecessarily. And that choice, made again and again, is the beginning of freedom. When wisdom begins to loosen the grip of the heart, a quiet question naturally arises. What do I do when the mind still won't slow down? This is where many people turn to chanting. And this is also where many misunderstand it. Some believe chanting the Buddha's name is a request, a plea, a bargain made in desperation. But the Buddha never taught chanting as a way to beg for a different life. He taught it as a way to stop the storm inside, to stop before another harmful word is spoken, to stop before fear turns into panic, to stop before the mind runs all night and steals tomorrow's strength. Imagine standing beside a busy road at dusk. Cars rush past. Engines hum. Horns echo in the distance. Now imagine a single bell ringing softly nearby. The traffic does not disappear, but your attention shifts. This is what chanting does. In many Buddhist homes across America, chanting begins in very ordinary spaces. A small table near a window. A candle flickering beside a simple image of the Buddha. A photo of parents or grandparents resting nearby, reminding us of gratitude and roots. The room may still carry the weight of the day, work stress, family worries, unfinished conversations. But when the chanting begins, something subtle changes. The mind, which was running in circles, finally has a place to rest. The Buddha taught that the mind becomes scattered when it has no anchor. Thoughts multiply. Emotions pull in every direction. Chanting is not about creating something new. It is about gathering the mind back to one place. When we chant Namo Amitabha Buddha, we are not asking the Buddha to fix our lives. We are giving the mind one clear, steady object so it can stop chasing everything else. You may notice this immediately. At first, the words feel mechanical. The voice may be soft, uncertain. Thoughts still intrude. But if you stay with it, something remarkable happens. The breath begins to slow. The jaw unclenches. The shoulders drop just a little. The mind pauses, not because it was forced, but because it finally feels held. This pause is precious. In Buddhist teaching, this pause is called stilling the karma of the moment. Karma is often misunderstood as something distant or mystical. But at its heart, karma is simple. It is what we continue and what we interrupt. Every anxious thought repeated becomes karma. Every angry word rehearsed becomes karma. Every night spent feeding fear becomes karma. Chanting interrupts this momentum. It does not erase the past. It stops the future from being shaped by the same reaction. I once sat with a woman named Grace, a caregiver for her elderly mother in Texas. Her days were long. Her nights were restless. She told me she used to chant only when she was desperate, when bills piled up, when exhaustion overwhelmed her. And even then, her chanting felt frantic. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, she sat quietly and began chanting without asking for anything. No requests, no explanations, just the sound. She described it later with a small smile. It felt like my mind finally sat down, she said. Her face softened as she spoke, the tension around her eyes easing. Not because her problems disappeared, but because the pressure inside her stopped building. This is the deeper purpose of chanting. Chanting creates concentration. Concentration creates stability. Stability allows wisdom to arise. When the mind is no longer racing, it can see clearly. It can see that this thought is just a thought, that this fear is just a visitor, that this moment, difficult as it may be, will change. This clarity is what protects us. Without it, we speak too quickly. We decide too hastily. We cling too tightly. With it, we pause. The Buddha often taught that liberation does not come from adding more effort. It comes from removing confusion. Chanting removes confusion by simplifying the inner world. One sound, one breath, one moment. This is why chanting has endured for centuries across cultures and continents. Not because it promises miracles, but because it works with the mind as it is. In American Buddhist communities, people chant in many ways. Some chant aloud voices, blending gently together. Some chant silently, lips barely moving. Some chant while driving, walking, or lying awake at night. There is no single correct form. What matters is intention. Chanting with the intention to stop harming yourself with the mind. Chanting with the intention to rest awareness here just for now. When chanting becomes prayer only for outcomes, disappointment follows. When chanting becomes refuge, peace grows. You may notice that after chanting, the problem you were worried about does not feel as sharp. The edges soften. The urgency fades. This does not mean you stop caring. It means you are no longer being dragged. And from this steadier place, wise action becomes possible. A calmer conversation, a clearer boundary, a kinder decision. The Buddha taught that wisdom is not separate from daily life. It shows up in how we respond, especially when we are tired, scared, or overwhelmed. Chanting trains this response. It teaches the mind that it does not have to react immediately to every impulse. It teaches the heart that safety can be found inside, not only in outcomes. Over time, chanting becomes less about the sound and more about the space it creates. A space where you are no longer at war with your thoughts. A space where the heart can rest without needing permission. As we continue, we will gently learn how to bring this practice into the most intimate moments of the day, especially before sleep, when the mind is most vulnerable. For now, remember this. Chanting the Buddha's name is not asking life to change. It is allowing the mind to stop long enough for wisdom to enter. And sometimes that pause is all the grace we need. When the mind finally learns how to stop, even briefly, it becomes ready for something very gentle, a rhythm it can trust. Peace does not always arrive through long retreats or perfect silence. Often, it enters through a small ritual, repeated with sincerity. Picture the end of the day. The dishes are done. The television is off. Lights are dimmed. Outside, a few cars pass their sound, fading like waves pulling back from shore. Inside, the house settles. This is where a simple ritual can change everything. In many Buddhist homes across America, there is nothing elaborate. No incense smoke filling the room. No chanting bells echoing loudly. Just a small table by the bed. A candle. Sometimes a flower in a glass of water. Sometimes only a quiet intention. What matters is not the form. What matters is showing up. A ritual is not meant to impress the Buddha. It is meant to reassure the heart. The Buddha taught that the mind becomes calm, not when everything is resolved, but when it knows it is safe to rest. A nightly ritual tells the mind, for these few minutes, nothing else is required of you. Begin by sitting comfortably, not rigid, not slouched, just present. Feel the weight of the body meeting the chair or the bed. Notice how the breath moves without instruction. If there is tension, let it be there. No need to fix it yet. Then softly begin chanting the Buddha's name, out loud or silently, whichever feels natural. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Let the sound fall like a pebble into still water. One chant, then another. At first the mind may wander. Thoughts will appear tugging at your attention. This is not failure. This is the practice. Each time you notice the mind drifting gently, return to the sound, not with frustration, with patience. You may find that after a few minutes, the breath becomes slower, the face relaxes, the space between thoughts grows wider. This is the beginning of inner refuge. After chanting for a short while, perhaps 21 repetitions, allow a moment of silence. In that silence, bring to mind the one thing that has been weighing on you most. Do not analyze it. Do not judge it. Simply acknowledge it. You might whisper inwardly, "This is what I've been holding." Notice how the body reacts. A tightening, a warmth, a heaviness. Then with kindness, imagine placing that burden down, not forever, just for tonight. The Buddha never asked us to carry everything alone. In Buddhist teaching, intention is action. When you choose to set something down, even briefly, you are creating new karma of care. This is why small rituals have such great power. They interrupt the habit of endless striving. I once spoke with a young mother named Emily who lived in Seattle. Her days were full work deadlines, school schedules, caring for her aging father. At night, she would collapse into bed exhausted but unable to sleep. She began a simple ritual like this, no more than 5 minutes each night. She told me that after a week, something shifted. Her problems were still there. Her responsibilities had not changed, but her mornings felt different. Her eyes looked clearer, her voice steadier. "It's like my mind finally knows when the day is over," she said. That is the gift of ritual. It creates a boundary between effort and rest. In Buddhist wisdom, boundaries are compassion. Compassion for the mind that cannot be strong all the time. Compassion for the heart that has carried much. After setting the burden down, return once more to the chant just a few times. Let the sound be gentle like a lullaby. If images arise, faces of loved ones, memories of the day, let them pass like clouds across the sky. You do not need to chase them away. You do not need to follow them. Simply return to the sound and then to the breath. End the ritual with a quiet wish. Not a demand, not a plea, just a wish for peace. You might think, may I rest tonight without fear, or may my family be safe and at ease. In Buddhist practice, these wishes plant seeds, seeds of calm, seeds of patience, seeds of trust. This is how small rituals grow into deep peace. They do not force transformation. They invite it. Over time, the mind learns this pattern. It learns that night is not for solving everything. Night is for returning home to the breath. And when the mind knows it will be met with gentleness, it begins to let go more easily. The Buddha taught that peace is not found by escaping life, but by meeting life without adding more struggle. A small ritual reminds us of this truth every day. Even on nights when the mind still resists the act of sitting chanting and setting something down is already a victory. It says, I choose care over chaos. And that choice, repeated again and again, becomes a quiet strength. As this practice settles into your life, you may notice something subtle. The mind begins to soften more quickly. Sleep comes more naturally. And even when worries return, they feel less sharp. This is not magic. It is training. Training the heart to trust that it does not have to hold everything to be worthy of rest. And from that trust, true peace begins to grow, one small ritual at a time. When a small ritual has gently settled the heart, there is one more step that allows the peace to stay. It is quiet, often overlooked, yet deeply transformative. This step is dedication. Dedication is the moment when the heart turns outward, not to give itself away, but to release what still binds it. After chanting, after setting the burden down, there is often a lingering thread, a person, a memory, a situation that still pulls at you from a distance. You can feel it in the body, a slight tightening behind the ribs, a familiar ache in the throat, a heaviness that does not fully lift. In Buddhism, this is known as a karmic tie, not a punishment, not a curse, but a connection formed through repeated emotion, thought, and reaction. These ties are not cut through anger. They are loosened through understanding and compassion. This is where dedication becomes a bridge. In many Buddhist traditions, dedication means offering the goodness of one's practice outward toward oneself, toward others, toward all beings. But its deeper purpose is not mystical. It is practical. Dedication changes the direction of the heart. Instead of circling back to resentment, regret, or longing, the heart learns to release. Imagine holding a knot of thread. The more you pull at it impatiently, the tighter it becomes. But when you soften your grip and gently loosen it, the knot begins to give. Dedication works in this way. After you're chanting, when the mind is calmer and the breath steadier, bring to mind the person or situation that has caused the most pain. Do not relive the story. Do not analyze what went wrong. Simply let the image arise. You might see a face, a place, a moment frozen in memory. Notice what happens inside you. Perhaps the chest tightens again. Perhaps the jaw clenches. Perhaps a wave of sadness or anger moves through. Stay with it without drowning. Then gently form a wish, not a demand. Not a forced forgiveness, a wish. You may silently say something like, "May this suffering be released. May we both find peace. May the harm end here." These words do not excuse what happened. They do not erase boundaries. They do not deny your pain. They simply stop feeding it. In Buddhist understanding, suffering continues not because we remember, but because we keep adding emotional fuel. Dedication removes the fuel. I once listened to a man named Robert, a Vietnam veteran who found his way to a small temple in Arizona later in life. For years, he carried anger toward people long gone, toward decisions that could not be undone. He told me that dedication felt strange at first. Why would I wish peace for something that hurt me? He asked. But one night, after chanting quietly alone, he tried it. He did not feel immediate relief. What he felt was space. The next morning, he noticed something subtle. His shoulders felt lighter. The usual tightness in his chest had eased. Nothing in his past had changed, but his relationship to it had. This is the power of dedication. It does not rewrite history. It rewires the present. In Buddhist teaching, karma continues through intention. When intention shifts, karma softens. By dedicating the calm you have cultivated even for a few minutes, you interrupt the cycle of reaction that keeps suffering alive. This is especially important when the pain involves people we love, family members, children, parents. In American Buddhist communities, dedication is often spoken with these relationships in mind. Many people carry quiet guilt about not doing enough, not being enough, not fixing what they wish they could fix. Dedication offers a way to care without clinging, to love without entanglement. You may dedicate your practice to your parents, living or deceased. You may dedicate it to your children, even if they are far away. You may dedicate it to yourself, especially if you have been harsh or neglectful toward your own heart. This is not selfish. It is necessary. The Buddha taught that compassion begins where suffering is understood, and often the suffering closest to us is the hardest to release. As you dedicate, notice the shift. The breath moves more freely. The face softens. The body feels less braced. This is not imagination. It is the nervous system responding to safety. The mind learns slowly that it does not need to stay on guard. Some nights dedication will feel easy. Other nights it may feel mechanical. Both are fine. The practice does not require perfection. It requires sincerity. Even a simple phrase is enough. May this night be free from harm. May I rest without fear. May all beings be at peace. These words are like gentle hands opening a fist that has been clenched for too long. Dedication also protects the goodness of your practice. Without dedication, calm can quickly turn back into grasping. We enjoy a moment of peace and immediately want more. Dedication says, "This peace does not belong to me alone," and in that offering, attachment loosens. The Buddha often spoke of freedom, not as escape, but as non-binding. When you dedicate, you are choosing not to bind your heart to outcomes, grudges, or expectations. You are allowing life to move again. As the ritual comes to a close, sit quietly for a few breaths. Feel the body. Feel the space inside. If sleep follows, let it come naturally. If wakefulness remains, let it be gentle. Either way, something important has already happened. A thread has been loosened, a burden set down. Dedication does not end suffering forever, but it shortens its stay. And when practiced night after night, it gradually cuts the ties that once kept the heart awake. This is not forgetting. It is freedom learned slowly. And in that freedom, peace finds room to stay. As dedication loosens the knots of the heart, something quiet begins to reveal itself. Not a dramatic change, not a sudden victory over life, just a gentle lightness. You may notice it in the morning, the way your eyes open without that familiar heaviness pressing behind them, the way the breath comes a little easier, the way the day no longer feels like something you must brace yourself against. This is when many people realize a surprising truth. Letting go did not take anything from them. It gave something back. Peace was never lost. It was simply buried under what did not belong to you. In Buddhism, letting go is often misunderstood as loss, as if releasing attachment means becoming empty, distant, or uncaring. But the Buddha taught the opposite. True letting go does not hollow you out. It makes you whole again. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack for years without ever setting it down. At first you adjust. You build strength. You tell yourself, this is just how life feels. Then one day, you take it off. The shoulders drop. The spine lengthens. You stand taller without trying. Nothing was taken from you. Only what was weighing you down was removed. This is what happens when attachment loosens. People often fear that if they let go, they will lose love, lose connection, lose meaning. But what actually falls away is the tension, the constant checking, the endless overthinking, the quiet self-blame, the exhausting need to manage how everything turns out. What remains is presence. In presence, love becomes simpler. You listen without rehearsing your response. You give without keeping score. You care without disappearing. This is not indifference. This is maturity. The Buddha taught that suffering arises when we confuse love with possession, when we believe that caring means holding tightly. But real love does not tighten the chest. It opens it. You can feel the difference. Clinging love feels urgent. It asks for reassurance. It fears change. Wise love feels steady. It allows space. It trusts what is. I once watched a father at a small temple in Illinois lighting a candle for his daughter. She had moved across the country years earlier. They spoke less often now. He stood quietly, flame trembling in his hand, then bowed. When he turned, his expression was calm, not resigned, not sad, just clear. He later said, "I stopped holding her future in my hands. I started holding her in my heart." That is letting go. It does not break the bond. It purifies it. In American life, many people are taught to measure worth by effort, by productivity, by how much they carry. Rest can feel undeserved. Peace can feel suspicious. But the Buddha taught that peace is not a reward. It is your natural state when you stop adding extra weight. Letting go returns you to that state. This return shows up in practical ways. Sleep deepens. The body heals more easily. Decisions become clearer. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of chase. This is not because life becomes easier. It is because you become steadier. From steadiness comes wisdom. Wisdom knows when to speak and when to be silent, when to stay and when to step back, when to give and when to rest. This wisdom is not cold. It is deeply compassionate. Compassion that no longer sacrifices the self. Compassion that understands limits. Compassion that knows peace is not selfish. It is necessary. The Buddha taught that we cannot offer calm to the world if we are constantly at war inside. Letting go ends that war, not all at once, not perfectly, but gently. You may still feel waves of attachment arise. This is normal. Letting go is not a single decision. It is a relationship you keep renewing. Each time you notice the grip tightening and choose softness instead, you are practicing. Each time you feel the urge to control and choose presence instead, you are practicing. Each time you stop yourself from replaying the same story and return to the breath you are practicing. This practice builds trust. Trust in life's unfolding. Trust in your capacity to adapt. Trust that you do not need to carry everything to be worthy. In Buddhist teaching, this trust is part of faith, not blind belief, but confidence born of experience. You try letting go. You feel the relief, and slowly the heart learns. As this trust grows, something else happens. Gratitude returns. Not the forced kind, the quiet kind. Gratitude for a moment of stillness, for a night of better sleep, for a conversation that did not spiral. Gratitude for yourself, for choosing not to suffer unnecessarily. This gratitude is also merit. Merit is not only created by grand actions. It is created by small, wise choices that reduce harm. When you let go of resentment, you create merit. When you let go of self-criticism, you create merit. When you let go of impossible expectations, you create merit. These merits nourish the heart. They support health. They support harmony. They support a life lived with dignity. Letting go does not mean you stop caring about the future. It means you stop trying to control it with fear. It does not mean you abandon responsibility. It means you stop carrying responsibility that was never yours. It does not mean you detach from life. It means you reattach to the present. The Buddha taught that the present moment is the only place peace can be found, not in replaying the past, not in predicting the future. Here, as you are, breathing, aware. This is what letting go returns you to. Not a different life, a truer one. A life where the heart is no longer clenched around what cannot be held. A life where the mind can rest without permission. And when peace becomes familiar again, you may realize something very simple and very profound. You were never meant to carry the world alone. Letting go did not make you weaker. It made you lighter. And in that lightness, you come home to yourself with nothing missing and nothing extra weighing you down. As the night deepens, there is a softer quiet now. Not the kind that demands sleep, but the kind that allows it. You may feel it in the way your shoulders have dropped, in the slow rhythm of your breath, in the gentle space that has opened where tension once lived. This is where we pause together. Tonight, you are not being asked to let go of your love, not your responsibilities, not your hopes for tomorrow. The Buddha never asked us to abandon what is wholesome. He asked us to release what creates suffering. There is a difference. Letting go does not mean throwing everything away. It means setting down what was never meant to be carried all night. You can keep caring. You can keep loving. You can keep trying without gripping so tightly that your heart forgets how to rest. In Buddhist teaching, wisdom is knowing the difference between effort and strain. Effort comes from clarity. Strain comes from fear. When you hold something gently, it does not wound your hands. When you clutch it in panic, even something precious can hurt you. Tonight, the invitation is simple. Look gently at what is still in your grasp, not with judgment, not with urgency. Just notice. Is it a conversation you keep replaying? A decision you wish you could change? A person you are holding responsible for your peace? An outcome you believe must describe your worth. You do not need to push it away. Simply loosen the fingers, even a little. That small release is enough for tonight. In Buddhism, freedom often arrives in small moments, not grand gestures. A single breath taken without resistance, a single thought allowed to pass without being followed, a single act of kindness toward yourself. These moments accumulate. They build a life that feels livable again. You may remember the image of the lotus, how it rises from muddy water without being stained by it. The lotus does not reject the mud. It simply does not cling to it. You, too, can live in the middle of a complicated world without carrying all of it inside your chest. This is what it means to let go correctly. Not everything, just what is heavy. Not forever, just for now. Many people in this country have been taught to solve every problem with effort, to think every thought through to the end, to carry anxiety as proof of responsibility. But the Buddha offered a different kind of strength, the strength to pause, the strength to release, the strength to trust that the mind, when not forced, knows how to settle. When you let go correctly, something unexpected happens. Life does not fall apart. It steadies. You still wake up tomorrow. You still show up for what matters. But you do so without the constant inner noise telling you that you are behind, failing, or not enough. Peace does not remove challenges. It changes how you meet them. From peace, you respond with wisdom instead of reflex. From peace, you choose boundaries without guilt. From peace, you love without losing yourself. This is not spiritual avoidance. It is spiritual maturity. The Buddha taught that the mind becomes clear when it stops fighting reality. Not passive, but honest. Tonight, honesty might sound like this: I have done enough for today. I cannot control everything. I am allowed to rest. These are not weaknesses, they are truths. As you prepare to sleep or simply to rest, you may wish to make a small dedication. Nothing elaborate, just a quiet offering of goodwill. You might say silently, "May the peace I have touched tonight remain. May my loved ones be safe and at ease. May all beings seen and unseen be free from suffering." Let these words fall like gentle rain. No pressure, no performance. In Buddhist understanding, such intentions soften the heart and plant seeds that bear fruit in unexpected ways. They create conditions for calmer days, clearer decisions, and kinder relationships. If the mind wanders again tonight, that is okay. Return to the breath. Return to the phrase. Return to the feeling of the body resting against the bed. Each return is practice. Each return is letting go, not of life, but of unnecessary struggle. You do not have to be perfect to find peace. You only have to be willing to set down what hurts, willing to stop arguing with what is, willing to trust that rest is not something you earn, but something you allow. As we close, know this: you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing at life. You are simply tired. And tonight, that tiredness does not need fixing. It needs kindness. May your sleep be gentle. May your dreams be light. May you wake with a heart that feels a little less burdened than before. If these words have brought you even a moment of ease, you may wish to carry them forward to share them with someone who needs rest, or to return here again when the night feels heavy. May the sound of the Buddha's name, the rhythm of the breath, and the wisdom of letting go continue to guide you toward peace. Namo Amitabha Buddha.